Well, if there's one thing worse than COVID, it's the endless COVID scare campaigns, not only from politicians and medical bureaucrats, but from certain experts on TV.
One health expert is lashing the government's response, warning the crisis is far worse than we're being told. Professor Bill Bowtell is a leading infectious diseases expert.
One such expert is former Keating advisor Bill Bowtell, who together with the ABC's Norman Swan is one of the leading self-promoters when it comes to talking about COVID. Hardly a day goes by without Bowtell popping up on television, especially on the ABC, castigating the government for its response to the pandemic. You might remember his boorish alarmism last year on Q&A when he berated Aged Care Minister Richard Colbeck.
All of the actions that we've taken to date have been to try and slow down the growth of the virus within the country so that we can...
Rubbish.
Hamish,
well,
can I offer a
Bill, I think that's unfair to say, because we moved early with respect to restrictions on travel. We were criticised from
You moved late.
We moved before nearly anyone in the world, and I think the situation that we're in now with the growth, but I'm trying to provide clear information to the community.
Well, we are facing on the verge of a serious national calamity. The hospitals can't cope with that. The people can't cope with that. On behalf of the Australian people, I think you ought to, because you should not be here.
On behalf of the Australian people? That gives you a good indication of the size of Bowtell's ego. But it's been a bad week for the adjunct professor. This week, the left-wing publication Crikey took him to task, wrote Adler Schwab, quote, Bowtell's Twitter profile describes him as an adjunct professor, UNSW, strategic health policy consultant, especially related to global health and development, unquote. But if you were thinking that meant Bowtell has accredited medical qualifications, you'd be wrong. Crikey continued, while the media regularly refers to him as an infectious disease expert, Billy from marketing is nothing of the sort. In fact, his only academic qualification appears to be an arts degree, his professorship being an honorary one.
Earlier this week, the government sank to a new low when it ran a scare campaign featuring a young woman gasping her last breath. You'd have thought with his alarmist claims about the virus that Bowtell would have approved of the ad. But weirdly, when the ABC asked him about it, he poo-pooed it.
But the point about health messaging is it's got to be honest and truthful and authentic. Now, that is an ad with an actor pretending to have COVID. It's not honest or truthful or authentic.
As it happens, I agree with Bill. I think the ad is an absolute disgrace. In fact, it reminded me of one of the most disgraceful advertising scare campaigns ever run on Australian TV. Remember this horror show from the 1980s?
The fact is, over 50,000 men, women and children now carry the AIDS virus. That in 3 years, nearly 2,000 of us will be dead. That if not stopped, it could kill more Australians than World War II.
That's right, the famous Grim Reaper ad campaign that won heaps of advertising awards by terrifying everyday Australian families that AIDS was going to mow them all down. Little old ladies, school kiddies, they're all gone. Talk about being neither truthful nor honest nor authentic. So, who was behind that ad?
Oh, hang on. It wasn't Bill Bowtell himself,
Absolutely.
one of the architects of the Grim Reaper campaign. No way! Indeed, as the Financial Review reported, when a Twitter user last year asked Bill Bowtell to create a new Grim Reaper ad to, quote, scare the SHIT out of those who didn't take COVID seriously, Bowtell said he was always happy to help.
So let me get this straight, guys. Labour's Grim Reaper ad, good. Morrison's gasping lady ad, bad. Interesting double standards, Bill. But let's go on here, because last year Bautel was again invited, of course, on Q&A, where he made this extraordinary claim.
We're talking about elimination again. Can we actually achieve it?
Well, I don't understand why people think this is some pie-in-the-sky objective of no community transmission.
To get there, what would we have to do?
I think we will have to look very seriously at all the measures required to lock down for the last time, not to repeat this cycle of the Groundhog Day cycle, if you like. We know that it works.
Well, in fact, nowhere in the world is there any conclusive evidence that lockdowns are any better than no lockdowns or other restrictions, and indeed there is plenty of evidence that they are counterproductive, dangerous, and harmful. And then there was this intriguing claim about Victoria.
New tighter restrictions are in place in Sydney now. What do you make of the new restrictions? Are they enough to turn these rising numbers around?
No, they are not enough. They are not like the stage 4 restrictions in the gold standard state for these things, which is Victoria.
Oh, dear me. Dan Andrews, Victoria is the gold standard state? Could it be this former advisor to the ALP is politically biased? Let's go back to 2007 when the Howard government was in power. In 2 articles for Quarterly Essay, Bautel wrote, "For nearly 20 years, Howard and his party allies have conducted a jihad against Liberal moderates." Oh my God, that arts degree is working hard.
And he also wrote, "The clearest lesson of the 2007 debacle is that there is no future in Australian politics for a socially and economically hardline neoconservative party." Neoconservative, or that's a very big word for an adjunct professor, or at least not one that aspires to form national government.
Yet Bautel has the hide to say all this with a straight face.
Every step of the way, politics got over the science.
Okay, Wayne Swan described it as the worst public health disaster this country has seen. Is that politics or is that accurate?
Well, the facts and figures speak for themselves. There's no room for grandstanding or making party political points or anything else. We have no room in this for politics.
Now, if only someone could come up with a vaccination against hypocrisy and humbug.